picks, props, and futures for tonight's action. Bettor Sports Betting wants to know what picks you're playing tonight. Tell us in the live chat on YouTube, Twitter, and the Bettor Sports Network app. This is Bettor Sports Betting with Fantasy Alarm's Dan Servodidio.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome in here to the Bettor Sports Betting Show on Bettor Sports Network and Fantasy Alarm. Got Howard Bender with me on a Wednesday afternoon here. So we got to talk some NFL with Howard. We got our win totals that we've been going through, our division by division win totals, and plenty of baseball picks for tonight's slate. Plenty of games out there for us to dive into. Got some afternoon action going on now, but we got some picks for the people. What's up, Howard? You ready for some NFL and baseball talk and college football? We're throwing some college football in the mix today.
We're gonna throw it all down there today. I'm pretty psyched, man. I mean, this is actually the division that we're covering for the NFL. Rock solid. Not the strongest of divisions, but I've got a personal favorite in there as well. Couple of baseball bets. I'm still living large off of my diamond dog from the last one. It was Miami Marlins, baby. They won it 5-1. So not only did I have the under there, but I also had the Marlins on that money line. So feeling good, feeling groovy, ready to get at it.
Love it. Yeah, I think I had the under in that one too. We both like the lower scoring game, but the Marlins did pull that out. So yeah, we'll be giving out some of our Diamond Dogs for Wednesday night for sure a little bit later. So stay tuned for that. If you guys got any picks that you want to throw at us, hit us up in the chat here on YouTube, Twitter, the BSN app, wherever you're watching. We'll get to your questions, your comments for tonight's slate or any NFL futures that we have, college football futures for sure. Coming up, I'll be giving out a couple of win total bets that I like for the SEC. So we'll be touching on that for today's show a little bit later. But we got to start with the NFL win totals in the NFC South. That is the new division that we're going to today. You could see, the win totals here. The Saints are 9.5 wins. They are the favorites here in terms of the division. And the Panthers at 7.5. The Falcons at 8.5. The Buccaneers at 6.5. We'll start with the Saints there at 9.5 wins. The over at plus 100. The under minus 125. Kind of a down division overall when you look at these win totals and seeing that the Saints are the favorites here. Last year, 7-10 for the Saints. They bring in Derek Carr as their new quarterback. Still have Jameis Winston hanging around, but Derek Carr is down the new face there. Where are you going with the Saints here? Over under 9.5 wins for them.
I'm leaning on the under here for the Saints. I'm not a huge Dennis Allen fan. I don't think he's that great of a coach. Their backfield is obviously going to be a little shaky to start the season off. Not sure. Alvin Kamara's got his suspension. You're going to rely heavily on Jamal Williams. Kendry Miller is banged up, so I don't really know what kind of the ground game they're really going to be able to establish early on in the season. And that they should have some games where they should be able to win it. So the fact that that's not the case, I'm down on them. I think that, listen, I think Carr is an improvement, obviously from what they're going with here. But I mean, I think the real question here is what is Carmichael going to do given the fact that, you've got Olave, you've got Michael Thomas, who should be back, and then you've got Juwan Johnson. Those are the three primary weapons that they're looking at. I'm not really sure what these Saints are going to do, and I don't really know what their defense is going to be like, and if that's going to hold up. So, even though it's a soft division and they're playing the AFC South, also, I'm just down on the Saints altogether. I think they could be an 8 or a 9 win team. That's about it.
Okay. I'm barely on the over here. I was very hesitant to take this over, but you went through it. There is worries about their offense. I do think Derek Carr, it will help that situation. Just a veteran quarterback now in there, and I think having him and Jameis Winston just as like the two quarterbacks on their depth chart. If we get some bad play from Carr or an injury, there is kind of a veteran in Winston there too, and I think that that quarterback situation is, 1-2, one of the better ones around. It's not a huge drop off to the backup there. And honestly, I think this win total really comes down to what their schedule looks like. kind of diving into it, because obviously they do play the NFC South teams, which we'll get to. Lower win totals for them, kind of a down division in terms of the overall league, but they also get the AFC South, which we'll touch on with a lot of these teams, which is also kind of one of those down divisions in the NFL. So I think that's a boost, getting 4 games against them. And the toughest one against the Jaguars, that division favorite, is a home game for them on a Thursday night, which I think is huge for the Saints, possibly winning that one as well. But they're also, they're facing the Packers early in the season, where Jordan Love's probably still getting his footing there in the offense. They also get the Patriots and the Rams this season, 2 teams that are also supposed to be down, compared to last year as well. So I think this win total barely goes over. It has me very worried, because 9.5 is a big number for a team that I don't think is, a playoff contender or a Super Bowl contender, but I think in that division it's probably appropriate. So slight over for me there, and plus money on DraftKings plus 100.
Plus money you're losing. What?
All right, so we disagree right from the start. Love it.
This was a 7-win team this year. Last year, you think they're 3 wins better?
Well, we'll get to some of these teams. I think the rest of the division is just is very down.
Sounds like someone's been puffing the Chiba.
Party time in New Orleans, right? All right, let's.
You guys want me to take my top off? Throw me some beads?
No, please don't. Please don't.
Nobody needs to see that. Nobody.
All right, how about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Let's go to them. 8-9 last year for the Bucs. Won the division with Brady there. Obviously, we have Tom Brady retiring, so we got Baker Mayfield in and Kyle Trask in there as well. So we'll see. Obviously, we think Mayfield should start over Trask, but we'll see what that QB situation ends up being. 6.5 is the win total for them. The under is juiced to -140, and the over's at +120. Where are you going with the Bucs here?
Oh, I'm definitely on the under here for Tampa Bay, and I'm actually going to go and look at what the alt win totals line are and see if I can get some more value. Because listen, dude, this is a team that's going to suck this year. Half their offensive line on the right side, it's not good. Yeah. Baker Mayfield, not good. It's so funny. I was sitting there, I was talking about, doing like in like a best ball, like giant tournament setting, you get your primary stack and your players, whatever, but then you do like a little sneaky buck stack at the end. Just because maybe, there are going to be some weeks where Baker might look okay and Evans and Godwin might look okay. But overall, dude, it's not a good team at all. And you bring up the quarterback situation. Is there anything that says that Trask would be better than Baker Mayfield as the starting QB? Like, not at all. Not at all. Here you go. Here's some value. Bucks 5.5 wins. Right? The under is +1. Is that 130? It's +130 there for under 5.5 wins. So for that to be a 5-win team, yeah, that's the bet I'm making, dude.
Okay. I almost talked myself into the over here because of, you mentioned it. The talent on the offensive skill positions is still there. Godwin and Evans is as good of a wide receiver combo as you can get in the NFL. And then I'm high on Rachaad White. I like him, especially for fantasy. I like him as kind of one of those later running backs you can grab. But yeah, I can't trust this offense led by whether it's Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask. And I think as underwhelming as Tom Brady was last year, I think he, when you look at their record of 8-9 last year, I do think that he's probably 2 wins better than whatever we get from Mayfield and Trask. So yeah, the under 6.5 is where I'm going as well. You mentioned the offensive line issues. They had some issues last year, and now replacing multiple starters along that line too. So yeah, it's not a good situation for the offense. The defense might keep them in games, but I don't see 7+ wins here. So we're on board there. We're on board with the Bucs here and the under 6.5. How about the Falcons? Let's look at the Falcons now. 8.5 is their win total, just below the Saints there. Over is at -120. The under at +100. This was a 7-10 team last year. 8.5 is that win total. So where are you going with this one?
I'm on the over here for the Falcons. This is like a little sleeper team for me because what the Falcons did during the offseason. Oh, here you go. You take the over at 9.5 wins, and it's +145.
Ooh, you like these alt lines?
I'm loving these alt lines here. So here's the thing. So the Falcons go out in free agency. They help rebuild their offensive line. They get a couple of components there. They completely transform their defense. Now, I know Jeffrey Okudah got hurt here in the preseason, and he's likely to miss a couple of weeks to start the season. But I mean, they built up that defensive line. They built up their pass rush. They're solid in the up the middle. And their secondary is rock solid. It really, really is. I mean, what they got like Mike Hughes from and somebody else from the from Cincinnati. I'm blanking on the name.
Jeff Okudah.
Oh yeah, well they got him from Detroit.
Jesse Bates.
Bates, that was the guy. They got Mike Hughes. They got Jesse Bates. So I mean, what we're seeing here for the Falcons is that they went all in on defense in free agency. All right, so that they didn't have to draft that. They drafted offense. They drafted Bijan Robinson in the first. They drafted offense. I think it was Bergeron, their offensive tackle, in the second round. I mean, this is a team that really has built themselves up very nicely. They got a great 1-2 punch with Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier. And one of the things that Andrew Cooper and I always say, running the football is a luxury of winning teams. As soon as if the Falcons get a lead, they're going to continue to run the. I mean, they're going to run the football like crazy anyway.
Yeah.
But if they get a lead, they're going to sit there and they're just going to grind it out as best they can, and kill the clock as much as possible. So I think we could be seeing some like low scoring wins for the Falcons, but they're going to sneak by a lot of these teams in numerous ways. So. Yeah, I'll take the alt line there at +145 to say that this is a 10-win team this year. I mean, it's a tough turnaround there because last year, what did they win? They won 7 games. It's not that bad. 3-win team. I think they definitely have made the improvements to be better than 3 wins than last season. So, yes, please. I also took them at +215 to win the division.
Yeah, there you go. I was going to say them and the Saints are the clear 2 teams that could win this division, in my opinion. So, I like that. And I'm also going over on their win total. I like the over 8.5 for sure. I like that they could get 10+ wins too. So, I like that alt line you mentioned. You broke down that offense, and I'm higher on this offense too to take another step forward. And they have you just mentioned they have just a higher floor as an offense because of their run scheme. And bringing in Bijan Robinson is like, this guy is a difference maker, in my opinion. He's going to be like the next, Saquon, Zeke, just like he's going to be a stud in the NFL, barring injury for sure. And they have a really good backup too in Algier. So they're going to lean on these guys. And I think that is important because they can get by with having Desmond Ridder as their quarterback. And, they have Taylor Heineke too as the backup, which, similar to the Carr Winston, situation, Heineke is a solid backup. It's not a big drop off. If Ridder has some trouble, or if he gets an injury, Heineke is a solid backup to come in there and run this run heavy offense. And you mentioned those additions on defense: Bates, Okudah, Caden Ellis, Calais Campbell too joining the team. Like they made some improvements on the defensive side that won't be as big of a worry. So. I like this over 8.5. I think they can definitely grind out 9, 10, maybe even 11 wins. Like this team is going to be probably overlooked, in the grand scheme of things. But I do like their over, and they get this easier type schedule against, as I mentioned, the AFC South is their cross conference matchups for the NFC South. And the rest of these NFC South, 2 games against the Panthers, 2 games against the Bucs, who we don't like. So not bad. So we're both going over on the Falcons. Love that. All right, last team we got to touch on from the NFC South here is the Carolina Panthers. Their win total is at 7.5. Overs at -120. Under is +100 on DraftKings. They were a 7-10 team last year, so this win total basically right in line with their win total from last year. Where are you going with the Panthers here?
I'm taking the over on the Panthers here. I think they can definitely be an 8-win team. They can finish this season 8-9. You're putting a solid coach in Frank Reich. Frank Reich. Come on, he help you guys to a Super Bowl.
He turned Carson Wentz into like an MVP candidate.
So here we go. Frank Reich. He gets Bryce Young. They're rebuilding, but they gave him some legit weapons. DJ Chark, Adam Thielen. He's got Hayden Hurst as his tight end. He's got Miles Sanders, who's a good, solid pass catching back, works very well in an RPO system. So listen, I think that the Panthers can, squeeze out a couple of wins here. And listen, to go 8-9 this season, I'm fine with that for -120.
I'm on the slight under here. I love that they have so many improvements on offense from last year with all those players you mentioned. Miles Sanders in at running back, DJ Chark, Jonathan Mingo's a really good rookie wideout. And getting a Frank Reich as a head coach is huge for them to kind of take a step forward as a franchise, I think, over the next couple of years. But I'm worried about I love Bryce Young as a prospect. I really think he could be a dynamic playmaker in the NFL for years. But the injury worry is definitely there, and I can't ignore that. The health risk because of his undersized body, taking hits, on a weekly basis. I really am worried how many games he actually starts and plays this year. I think they're going to, kind of take it, easier. If he has any small injuries, I could see him sitting down for a couple weeks. They do have Andy Dalton as their backup, which is okay. But, I'm worried about the offense truly performing up to par this season. And I have them going slightly under. I think maybe they're like a year away because I love all the pieces on offense. I just got to see, Bryce Young hold up for a full season, which I don't think he does as a rookie this year. So I'm going slight under there.
All right. So yeah, we're on some opposite sides there, right? You and me differ on the Saints and the Panthers. We're side by side with the Falcons and the Bucs.
Yeah, we're 2 for 2. That's hitting 500 is a great thing in Major League Baseball. So, and speaking of baseball, let's flip gears to the best bets we have for tonight. But before they do that, just got to remind you, if you haven't already, to check out the Fantasy Alarm All-Pro subscription. And you can get that fantasy football draft guide and the fantasy football cheat sheet for free. Get a free 7-day trial to the All-Pro subscription. You get both of those things for free, as we've been promoting here. And you go to fantasyalarm.com/draft to get in on that. And this cheat sheet, new updates with Dalvin Cook signing with the Jets, with Zeke Elliott signing with the Patriots. So you want to get in on this. Publications and stuff that are out there are a little outdated with these signings. So you got to get this online draft guide, online cheat sheet, and get all the instant updates, and you can have it up while you're drafting. I know people will be drafting this weekend and next weekend, so get this draft guide and cheat sheet for free with that 7-day trial for the All-Pro subscription. All right, let's look at tonight's baseball slate and dive into all of our top picks for tonight. What is your best bet tonight, Howard?
Ooh, my best bet for tonight, Servo. How about this? I'm taking the Reds. Their team total over 5.5 runs. It's plus 105 on BetMGM. Now, the funny thing about this was that I was looking at the lines, and I think it was like the under. Or the over 4.5 was like minus 150 or minus 160. So I'm like, really, so I'm gonna take the plus odds here, and I'm gonna go for that. It's a home game for the Reds, which we obviously love, and it's against Noah Syndergaard. Listen, I get it. I've gone against Syndergaard in his first couple of starts and outings here for the Cleveland Guardians, and he has been surprise. Not tonight. Not tonight. The Reds plate at least 6 runs on him. At least 6 runs. You watch. It's gonna be like 4 in the first 2 innings, like something like that. And then I'm gonna sweat the rest of the game until they chase him in the 6th.
Well, then they could get a couple runs off the bullpen too. But yeah, I like that too. I mean, the Noah Syndergaard, I am not buying in on him either. I know he had a couple decent outings already with Cleveland, but I think there's a reason the Dodgers cut bait on him because he's not a quality starting pitcher at this point. So yeah, I could back that one. We got Britt Flynn chiming in on YouTube saying hi guys. What's up, Britt? Stay tuned, Britt, because and everyone else for our college football segment we got coming up in just a little bit because Britt, I might be talking about your Arkansas Razorbacks a little bit in that one, so stay tuned for that. All right, let's my best bet for tonight. Also going with the team total, the Kansas City Royals team total over 3.5 minus 115 on BetMGM. This is an offense I've been backing a lot when they're facing right-handed pitchers, and it's been cashing. Cashed last night their team total. Going back to it here, 3.5 is a fairly low number for what they've been doing. The Royals have scored 4+ runs in 11 of their last 14 games now, averaging over 5 runs per game this month. And against right-handed pitching over the past week, they're the best offense in a lot of categories against righties. Just kind of one of those offenses that people are overlooking. They're not winning a lot of games. You know, they have been cashing at some big underdogs, but their starting pitching is still like a worry, and their bullpen is still a worry. So I'm just focused on their team total here. But over the past week against righties, 428 WOBA, 240 ISO. Also top 3 offense versus right-handed pitching over the past 2 weeks. And Luis Castillo comes in. You know, he's been good, but he has worse numbers on the road, which is what I like here. Going on the road to Kansas City. He's got a 459 FIP on the road this year away from Seattle. His last road start, he allowed 7 runs to the Angels earlier this month. And I just think he's going to have another shakier outing. And the Royals just coming in red hot against right-handed pitching. So give me their team total over 3.5.
Nah. But that's only because I've got Luis Castillo in a couple of key fantasy baseball
that's
leagues.
Why.
So
okay.
I need him to I won't make this bet. I won't endorse this bet because I've got way too much invested in Luis
Well, listen,
Castillo.
this bet can cash if they go over the team total, in the 8th or 9th inning too. I'll take that.
Okay, all right. As long as Castillo's out of the game and he throws, I don't know, seven innings, 7 shutout innings, and the Mariners are up like 8-0, then yes, okay, fine. Then they can score 4 on the bullpen, and I'll be all right. Although, well, no, Paul Sewald won't. No, he actually got traded to Arizona.
Yeah, he's gone.
All right.
Yeah.
Screw it. Screw Munoz. Well,
yeah, you want to get the win for Castillo too, though. So, but I mean, listen, the Royals, they've been, as I mentioned, they've been cashing as underdogs on the money line, and I considered them as my diamond dog tonight, but ultimately could not go there because we got General James MacArthur on the bump for Kansas City. I have no idea what we're getting from him, so staying away from that side. All right, so what other best bets, betting picks you got for tonight? I know we both got a few here before we get to some college football.
Astros Marlins, I'm taking the under, minus 115 on DK. Justin Verlander against Jesus Luzardo. I know Luzardo struggled a little bit against the Yankees his last time out, but I mean, this is a big game. Like, Houston's a tough team against left-handed pitching. There's no doubt about it. But for the 8 runs, I thought it was interesting. It was like, when it's like 7.5 runs, I'm always leery to do the under, but you're going to give me the 8. And then, you're going to give me that option to push at minus 115 on DK. I'll do that. The line on BetMGM for this game was down at 7.5. So I feel good being on the under here for that one.
Yeah, interesting line movement with that game overall, by the way, because we had the Astros favored on the money line. earlier this morning. But right now on DraftKings, -110 both ways for the Marlins and Astros. So to your point, I guess they're expecting Luzardo to have a good outing here and back the Marlins. So yeah, probably. And I got faith in Verlander right now. He's on a roll, so I can back that. All right, my next pick, going with the White Sox Cubs over 10.5 here, -118 on DraftKings. First thing you just got to mention with this game, so the wind is blowing out in Wrigley.
Wind's blowing out.
That is just automatically you kind of look to the over. So I have 10 to 15 mile per hour winds blowing out for Chicago and Wrigley. But it's Mike Clevenger on the mound for the White Sox, who's been shaky. He's been up and down. He's had some decent outings, but I don't think it's going to be great for him against the Cubs offense that's top tier in the league lately against right-handed pitching. They only scored 3 runs last night against the White Sox, but otherwise have been crushing the ball at home and against right-handed pitching. So I think they bounce back for sure on that side. And I don't know what we're going to get from the Cubs pitching here because it looks like it's not confirmed, but Javier Assad is likely starting for the Cubs. He's been solid lately, but some of his underlying metrics suggest he's been overperforming a bit, especially as like a traditional starter. And the Cubs bullpen has also been a little below average lately behind Assad. So I think the White Sox offense, even though they are not great, have been terrible, but I think they can get enough runs, especially with this favorable hitting environment. So give me the full game over here.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm in on that for sure because yes, again, the wind is blowing out, and that's a big deal there. I got me some Clevenger in fantasy too, but I'm hoping that all the damage is done on the White Sox side. I'm going for a prop for my next bet here. This dude helped push me into the Tout Daily, another golden ticket to the Tout Daily contest last night, and that's Corey Seager. I'm just gonna go. I mean, you're giving me plus money on over 1.5 total bases when this dude he went yard twice yesterday. This dude is one of the premier hitters of the of Major League Baseball right now. And if it wasn't for the injuries, I guarantee you Corey Seager would be leading the conversation for MVP. He's been that great for Texas. So, like his over 1.5 hits plus runs plus RBI was like -150. So yeah, I'll take that extra base for plus 100 for me.
Yeah, and he's got lefty Reed Detmers on the mound, but Seager's been crushing lefties this year. So, yeah, his total bases probably should not be plus odds right now.
Nobody likes lefty on lefty crime. Nobody likes it.
Seager likes it, I'll tell you that.
Seager loves it. So does Kyle Tucker, for crying out loud.
And so will you if it catches. All right, my next pick, I'm going with the Cleveland Guardians team total under 4.5. Opposite side of the game that you were talking about earlier with the Reds, but I think the Guardians offense is going to go under here. It's Andrew Abbott on the mound for Cincinnati here. He's got an impressive 2.95 ERA. He's had some shaky outings recently, and I've faded him actually, a couple times lately, and it's been profitable. But Cleveland comes in as the worst offense in the league this whole season against left-handed pitching in multiple categories like WOBA, ISO, batting average. Over the past 2 weeks, these numbers have been even worse. 178 WOBA against lefties, just a 7 WRC plus, which is ugly against left-handed pitching. So I'm backing Abbott here to kind of hold the Guardians down. The Cleveland hasn't faced a lot of lefty starters often in this recent stretch of struggles, but they have, lefty starters have had a really good outings against them. Yusei Kikuchi, we saw shut him down. Hyunjin Drew also before that. Framber Valdez, even Ryan Yarbrough had good outing against Cleveland's offense. So I think Abbott will do his thing here. And this team total at 4.5. The Guardians have gone under this in 11 of the past 14 games since the All-Star break, or since the trade deadline when they basically kind of sold and kind of punted on that division. So yeah, give me the team total under here.
I like it. I like it. All right. Under the team total there. Servo, I don't have any more baseball picks because I'm saving my money for your college football action. So if you've got another baseball pick, you take care of that. But I'm ready to bet some college sports now.
Well, I'll just throw out Matthew Liberatore under 2.5 earned runs. This is a bet I broke down for the MLB Underdog Fantasy Picks article over on Fantasy Alarm. So you can get a lot more of my extended thoughts on that one because I do like this spot for him at home against the terrible Oakland offense against left-handed pitching. So I know Liberatore's been very up and down, very risky, but I still like the under on him, a nice value spot. -115 on DraftKings. But yeah, go check out my Underdog Fantasy Picks article over on Fantasy Alarm for free. It's up there if you want to check out some of the stats and some of the further breakdown. But yeah, we got to get to some college football here because I got a couple of win totals I want to give out to the people. So let's get to our college football corner here. Yeah, I'm sitting in my chair, just kind of sitting back here, taking stock of the game tape, and I'm ready.
I can't wait. I can't wait till we see that picture and your gut is just growing and growing and growing. All right. So we did some Big Ten action the last time I was on the show. So let's move on. Let's dive into the SEC. We got Britt Flynn who's hanging out here in the chat. So let's talk some SEC football. By the way, Corey Seager was her home run bet of the day today on the you know what I'm talking about on the Bettor Morning Show. So
yeah,
she's been on fire lately. So yeah, let's do it.
Love that. And that would definitely go over 1.5 total bases. But yeah, Arkansas. I'm starting with them. Love the over 6.5 wins for them. You can get it.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were doing that. Hold on.
I don't know. Oh, he's got his Arkansas
hat. Ready.
There we go.
Talk to me, Goose. What do you got for me?
He's got his Razorbacks hat on. Love that. All right, yeah. So Arkansas over 6.5, -150 on BetMGM right now. Listen, this is a team that went 6-6 last year. Okay, so this is their win totals right in line with kind of what they did last year. But they had a terrible defense last year and an offense that was basically like a two-man unit between dual threat quarterback KJ Jefferson and stud running back Raheem Rocket Sanders. And that was with Jefferson hurt for a few games as well. And they obviously went 6-6, as I mentioned. I love the over here with this offense coming back with Sanders. I think he's going to be the best running back in the SEC this year. I'm sure Britt Friend is going to love to hear that. But, Jefferson, a full season from him as well. This duo is going to be just lethal against offenses. And the offense overall should be better with a new OC. Dan Enos comes in. I think he's going to improve things on that end overall. And the defense I mentioned was terrible last year. Yeah, Britt Flynn's commented and said the secondary was brutal. It was. It cost them multiple wins, just getting tore up by, every offense they were playing basically. And the defense can only get better. And they brought in a bunch of transfers that I like to make that secondary specifically better. And a new defensive coordinator, Travis Williams. I think the defense will be more aggressive, make more plays, and actually be a positive, compared to last year. So I like this over here. And the Arkansas schedule, by the way, it's got a weird setup. So they start with 3 easy home games against, Western Carolina, Kent State, BYU. I think that's 3 easy wins before going into a 4-week really tough stretch against LSU, Texas A&M, Ole Miss, and Alabama. I think if they can go like 2-2 in that one, pull out wins against Ole Miss, A&M maybe, but then they end the season with a really easy home stretch against Auburn, Florida International, and then Missouri. So I think we're looking at least 6 wins here. So I like the value that we can get on the over, even though it is -150. I still think this is a 7-8 win team this year.
I love it. I'm in.
He's in. He's got the Razorbacks hat on. Love it.
What else you got?
All right, so then going over on the Arkansas, and now I'm going under on Ole Miss. And this is one.
Is it the Michael Orr stuff? Is that what's going on? Is that why you're doing this?
I'm not going to touch that stuff. That's unfortunate, that whole situation. But, yeah, that's tough. But still just going under on Ole Miss here. Under 7.5 wins. You can get plus 100 on BetMGM. this is one that I could you can make the argument for both ways, and I could see Ole Miss being pretty solid this year. But I think there's really good value on them going under this team total. This is a team that went 8-4 last year, so barely over this one, a couple wins over. But I think this is, last year they benefited. If you look at their schedule and kind of how the season went, they really benefited from a very easy first half of the schedule that saw them go 7-0 to start, but then they lost 4 of their last 5 games to end the season, where they started to face some real teams there. And the schedule is brutal this year. Back-to-back games against Alabama and LSU in the first month of the season, which is really tough 2-game stretch. They have back-to-back games against Texas A&M and Georgia at the back end of the season, which is a tough 2-game stretch there. And then they have 2 sneaky tough games against Arkansas, as I mentioned, and Auburn in the middle of their SEC conference schedule. So I think that's, 2 sneaky tough games. They could easily lose both of those. I think they're kind of coin flips. But also the second game of the year, they have to go on the road at Tulane, which is a ranked team right now. Had a really good season last year, beat USC in the Cotton Bowl. And they have to go on the road at Tulane, which I think is a sneaky tough spot for them. And especially being the second game of the season, it's just a tough ask there. So I'm not high on this schedule. They also finished the season on the road against their rivals, Mississippi State, which is always like a coin flip game that could be a loss easily as well. The only issue I have with this is I like that the offense under Lane Kiffin is always a threat to kind of light up defenses. Running back heavy, run heavy offense with Quinshon Judkins, who him and Raheem Sanders from Arkansas are going to be the 2 top running backs in the SEC this year. But the quarterback situation is kind of the big worry for me there. They bring back Jackson Dart, who was kind of inconsistent and underwhelming last year as a starter. They bring in a transfer from Oklahoma State, Spencer Sanders, who was also just kind of very inconsistent. And the fact that they haven't named a starter for them, they're both still battling it out. I think it tells me something that neither guy has really taken hold of that starting job. And I could see this being an issue, especially when you got all these tough matchups I mentioned in the SEC, especially on the road at Tulane. I don't see it being a huge positive thing for them that they have this quarterback situation. So the ceiling for me for this team is about 8 wins. So I like the under here at plus money, under 7.5, because I think there's more paths when you look at this schedule for them being a 7 or 6 win team. So yeah, give me the under on Ole Miss.
All right, there you go. I love it, man. I love it. Listen, I'm happy to put some action down on both of these, and I thank you very much for your service.
Yes. By the way, if you missed that Big Ten talk, we gave out some Big Ten win totals. You can go back and listen to Monday's show, and I'll be giving out some more win totals. Next week I'll have an article up on Fantasy Alarm, kind of breaking some of these college football win totals up as well that you can check out. But definitely stay tuned for that. And obviously, all college season, if you aren't aware, me and Pete Cole will be dividing up all the college football DFS stuff. But I'll be throwing out some best bets articles as well on a weekly basis over at Fantasy Alarm. So stay tuned for all that this college season.
Definitely. All right.
Yeah, that's me on a Saturday. All right. That's me on a Saturday watching my Maryland Terrapins probably lose because they're not a great team, but I'll be watching college football. So you can join me in the college football corner there. All right. We got to get to our Diamond Dogs for tonight because we got to give out some plus money baseball picks for Wednesday night slate. So let's get to our Diamond Dogs.
I'm rounding up the Diamond Dogs.
Who the are the Diamond Dogs?
It's just a group of people who care, Roy. Not unlike folks at a hip-hop concert whose hands are not in the air.
All right, what's your Diamond Dog tonight, Howard?
I'm getting a little crazy tonight, Servo.
Ooh.
How about this one here, baby? I'm doing a same game parlay for everybody tonight, and I'm getting plus 191 on this action. So I'm pretty psyched. It's Blake Snell going up against Dean Creamer for the Orioles against the Padres. I'm taking the Padres money line, which is like minus 185, but then I'm also going to take the over 8 runs. I know Dean Creamer's on like a 7-game win streak, or the Orioles have won the last 7 starts made by Dean Creamer. This runs out now. Blake Snell, yes, he's walking a couple of too many guys here and there, but I'm not gonna worry about that. They're heavy money line favorites, so you parlay that with the over on BetMGM, you get it for plus 191, and I'm in on that.
Love that. All right, so yeah, the Blake Snell, I was really wanting to back the Padres on like the run line. Blake Snell props tonight, but he's been so good that I expect maybe a shakier outing coming up. So maybe that helps the over, but I do have confidence in the Padres offense against Dean Creamer. So yeah, the nice little juicy parlay there for that plus money. All right, my diamond dog tonight is the Washington Nationals on the money line, plus 134 on FanDuel. I think this is a good, really, good underdog, straight up underdog spot for the Nets. James Paxton on the mound for Boston. He's been, he's had better numbers at home, on the road, like significantly better. And he's got a 4.20 FIP on the road, 4.07 ERA. And the Nats come in here, top 10 offense against left-handed pitching all season long, and very tough on lefties in terms of, strikeouts and just limiting base runners overall for left-handed starters. And they have really good numbers against lefties over the past 2 weeks. And I think they're going to really get to Paxton here. And the other side, it's Mackenzie Gore for the Nats, who has been very up and down as a starter for Washington. But I think this is a good spot for one of his better outings, because the Red Sox offense going in kind of the opposite direction as Washington in terms of facing left-handed pitchers. Just a 286 WOBA, 27% strikeout against lefties over the past 2 weeks. And if you look at Gore's game logs, it's really interesting. So you'll notice a weird trend. He goes back and forth between, a bad start and a really solid one, bad start, good one. And this trend kind of points to him having a better start tonight, because it's been going back and forth. He let up 6 runs last outing. I think he bounces back at home here and really anchors the Nats. So I like getting them at plus money to pull out the win tonight.
I can dig that, man. I can definitely get behind that bet, Servo. Listen, I'm not a big Nats fan, but you know what, man? I'd sprinkle a half a unit on that, especially if I'm going to be doing the same thing for my same game parlay. So let's crush it, dude. Let's make some money tonight, yo.
Let's do it. Yeah, we got a bunch of picks we like. Again, we broke down the NFC South earlier in today's show, so definitely go back and check that out. See where we're leaning on all these win totals. But yeah, plenty of baseball bets we like for tonight. Coming up tonight, by the way, we got Lisa Ann back on Bettor Sports Network. Lisa Ann does Fantasy Better, debuting at 7 p.m. Eastern tonight with Howard Bender as the co-host with Lisa Ann on that show. So definitely tune into that, 7 p.m. Eastern here on Bettor Sports Network. You can chat with Lisa Ann and Howard about fantasy football and all your favorite sports. You can hear who Lisa Ann's drafting on our fantasy teams this year. You can find out how to play fantasy sports or DFS league with Lisa Ann. All great stuff. So tune in tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern, Bettor Sports Network YouTube channel. That's Lisa Ann does Fantasy Better with Howard as the co-host there with Lisa. Should be awesome stuff there. Also coming up right after us here, 5 p.m. Eastern, Quick Pitch MLB DFS live show with John and Pemba and James Grande. So stay tuned for that as well right after us. So you can get those DFS lineups in tonight. All right, Howard, awesome stuff today. Appreciate everyone else tuning in here on a Wednesday afternoon. We'll be back tomorrow at Thursday on 4 p.m. Eastern here on Bettor Sports Network. We'll see you then. Thanks.
Bettor Sports Betting on the Bettor Sports Network.